Hi YouTube, on today's episode we're going to go over car kits. And there's going to be a series of videos to go over different things to have in your car for different seasons. On this first episode, I'm going to go over tire care. On this kit, I'm going to go over the different components of it. I am going to say the experience about a few parts of it and go from there. So to start, again, this is the Slime 70,004 Power Spare tire repair kit. They spell spare different. For their marketing, it's S-P-A-I-R instead of S-P-A-R-E. In this kit, you've got everything you need to air up a tire and to repair a tire quite a few times. So to start, one of the reasons you even want to have one of these air compressors, at least one in your family, if not in each car, is when you're driving in the middle of nowhere, or even if you just get home and your tire's low, and sometimes to drive around and find a gas station and then find one that has an air compressor but it doesn't, the coins aren't working, some reason like that. You can save all that headache if you just have one of these in your car. You plug it in the cigarette lighter plug and just air up your tires, and then you're done, and you don't have to worry about any of that. And if there is a leak, a slow leak, you can at least get to a point where you can use this repair kit, or you can get to a body shop or something like that where they can actually take it off and do a good repair on it. I have used this kit on regular cars, Subaru, Grand Cherokees, that kind of thing. And I've also used it on 80 PSI tires, so on F250s, and it's worked great. This past week, I used it on 4 80 PSI tires, and it did take a while. This isn't a tank that you're filling off of. It's a small compressor, but it does work. I think it took me about 20 minutes. They were all 20 PSI low, and it took about 20-30 minutes to go around all of them, fill them back up. And one benefit with this is, I'll go over the components in a minute, is for some reason, say you have a fuse blow and it's just you're having a horrible day and your cigarette lighter plugs aren't working, you can actually take this, hook this to your battery, and then connect it, and then you have an extension that I'll pull out in a second, and then you can still run it off your battery for a little bit. This thing does suck down a battery though. So if that is your plan, make sure if you have a couple different bad tires, make sure you get the worst one first and then go from there. One thing that I really like about this is a threaded connector. And what I mean by that is it actually twists. So yes, they're all threaded, the caps when you get them, but this thing actually turns and threads onto your tire. And so does the extension also. So instead of having to use something where you turn a piece that could break, or worrying about not having a good seal, this just goes and it twists and turns on. And it's a really easy, comforting thought that you can walk away. It's gonna be really secure. Right now I'm gonna go over what this kit includes. First thing is the slime sealant, hence the slime kit. And this is the sealant. It comes with the hose, and then you've got your cap on the top, and then on the back of it you have different different chart on here for what does what, and a quick little 8-step check on how to do it. Now, personally for this, I don't use the sealant. I just use the compressor, and if I ever needed to, I use the plug. I don't know for a fact, but I have heard that these can affect the tire sensor gauge. Even though it says tire sensor safe at the top in bright yellow, bold black print, those things to get a new sensor is like $200 or $300 depending on what your car is, and I'd rather just fill this up and put a plug in it and not worry about it. That's just my personal preference. The next thing is the actual compressor itself. This is a piston compressor. On the bottom you have these little shock absorbers, and they really do come in handy because this thing does vibrate a lot. You've got your heat sink back here that works really well. This does get very hot. So when I was filling up that F250 and running 20 PSI up on each one, all 4 tires, this got really, really hot. But what's really convenient about this is it has this little handle that never gets hot. And so as long as you're careful and you can lift it up from here, I've never had an issue except for once when I didn't realize how hot it actually would get. Then you have your connector here. It is connected to the compressor right here. This is a really good connection. It's got one of these spring cover pieces. And then you have a nice long 12 volt connector. I have dropped this on the ground and it has come apart like a lot of these do. The reason is because your fuse is on the inside and sometimes it's just the cheaper part. And it is cracked, but it still works great. And then if you ever wanted to, you know, just 12 volt, cut it, put a new one on. On this side, you have two switches. One switch is for this light. It's not really bright, but if you're on the side of the road working on something, it's a light, right? And the other one is to turn on and off the compressor. On the top, you have your pressure gauge, and it is in both bar and PSI. And what I've done is I've taken a Sharpie, and for most tires I use, I do 40 PSI, or just around it. And on here, I've gone and marked it with a Sharpie, and that way I don't have to keep looking closely. I can go and do other stuff, because sometimes it can take a while if it is really low. I've had some people that just didn't know their tires were low, and it was very obvious. They just didn't look at their tires. And so we went from nearly nothing to filling them all the way up, and there you go. And that helps a lot. All right, the next thing is alligator clip. So earlier I talked about the 12 volt connector. This obviously goes in 12 volt power port in your car, cigarette lighter plug. But whatever the situation is, you also have this, so you can clamp it on. I've never had to. I have always had, it's always worked great from plugging inside a power port. And one of the reasons that it is fine to do that, even on a large pickup or something, is you have this extension. And between the two of these and the extension you have on the 12 volt power cord, I can go from, just for reference, a full-size bed 4-door F250. I can go from the plugging it in the cab, stretch this back, and then stretching this all the way out, I can go about 4 or 5 feet past the bed of the truck. So that gives you some reference. And then what I do is I'll just take it, move it through the cab of the truck to the other side, and then stretch it that way. And that way you don't have cords running everywhere, and if it's cold or raining outside, you can keep doors closed, that kind of thing. And then same thing on this. It has threads. So this threads onto here, and this rotates. So you don't have to worry about twisting the whole cable, the whole tube on here. And then this also rotates freely, independent of the cord itself. All right, next, it's got a little accessory pack. So you have some covers. You have some valve, a metal valve core removal tool. You have your different adapters. So say some balls or something you want to fill up, it comes with a couple of those. It comes with anodized valve covers. So they're just valve covers, but they are really high quality. So you have 4 of them to put back on. You have an extra fuse. That's for your compressor, obviously. And then you also have, same thing, another fill thing for balls and that kind of thing. And then you have some valve cores. You have 2 of them. And if that can show up well. And I've never had this little case pop open. So that's comforting, because this thing has been banged around a lot. All right, next we have the actual tire repair stuff. All right, so you have, let's get this out. All right, so you have your T-handle, and you have your plunger tool. So you have this to, ream it out and clean it. Then you have this where you actually stick your plugs, which I haven't had to use yet, obviously. So you take and you stick it in, run it through this little piece, and then you put it in. One thing I like about this is metal on here. And if you ever had to do this before, I've had to do it once, and I had to get a hammer to really get it in there. And I'm pretty certain if you had plastic on there, unless it was some kind of really good plastic, it would probably just break. So both of these are metal. And then you have 30 of these, so 30 plugs. Yep, so you can go for a while on those. And then the last thing is you have your pencil tire gauge. It's not super high quality. It feels like a good plastic or a really cheap aluminum, one or the other. This does go up to 120 psi or 827 kilopascals or 8 bar, a little over 8 bar. It works great. I haven't broken it yet. It's got the piece on here to push on the tire to bleed air out of the tire once you've done what you're going to do. And this is it. I'm not a big slime fan, only because of I would rather do something a little less dirty and just put a plug in or just air it up and go that route. But it's here, and I know people that love this stuff, and anytime they get a flat, it goes right in. Now when I mountain biked, I would get the slime tubes, so that way it would fill it in. But anyway, it's good stuff. So there you go. This is a basic tire kit, and if you don't want to spend the money on this, at least get a compressor to keep around, and that way when the temperature changes outside, if you've driven a car for any amount of time, you know that when it goes from summer to winter, or just huge changes during the summer or huge changes during the winter, your pressure is going to go up and down on your tires. And once the seasons kind of set in, you want to go and just check it every once in a while. Most modern cars, you can read that digitally on your usually center console or something like that. But if not, that's why they have this. You can go around and check it. One thing that we've done on a couple of our cars is they make a wireless system. If your car does not have a pressure gauge system, you can put it inside. It stays plugged in on a cigarette lighter plug, and it has a 2-digit readout of all your tire pressure sensors that comes with the kit that go wirelessly on, and it sets an alarm, low pressure, high pressure, and it works. It's gone off on me a couple of times, and it's brought my attention to it because I just wasn't paying attention. And same thing, PSI or bar, whichever way you prefer to read, and that way you can always have a way to air up your tires, or just be a good co-worker, family member, and just help air up other tires, and that way you just prevent tires going bad. Or if you're in a situation where you need to deflate the tires because you're going to go off-roading and you just need more grip, whatever the reason is, then this is a good, fairly inexpensive, really highly built thing you can just keep in the car, and you can air the tires back up when you're done, after you've done whatever it is you're doing with your low pressure. One other thing to remember is when you're using this or any air compressor, you always need to look on your tires. And same thing with the high PSI tires. Make sure you know they're high PSI, so when you go around and check it and it says 60 and it's supposed to be 80, that way you at least know to go around and they need to be topped off. And that way you know they don't need to go down more if you're used to having 30 or 40 on your personal car. Thanks for watching.